That's fresh.
Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door remake has been confirmed to be 30 frames per second. The Bayonetta director, though, has empathy. Let's talk about it. So apparently it has been confirmed this week that Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door will be 30 frames per second. And the whole reason why this is causing, a big stir on the internet, rightfully so, to be honest, I do feel like it's kind of a bummer, is that its original GameCube release in like 2004, it ran at 60 frames. So it's like, what's the excuse? Why is it not 60 frames? The system that it's coming out on is so much more advanced than the GameCube. Why can't it? Why? Like, there's no excuse. You might think there's no excuse. The Bayonetta director, I think his name is Abibi Tanari. I could be wrong, but my apologies if it's wrong. Basically came out on Twitter, 7 tweets, and basically said that you guys have no idea what they're giving up in order, or no, how heartbreaking of a decision it is that they chose to go 30 frames per second, and why it's 30 frames per second, and what really this game is entailing to have be, running in the background, to what it's actually doing for us to see. So I'll read some of his tweets. I can empathize with the devs of Paper Mario TTYD on Switch with the whole 30 FPS versus 60 FPS situation. We tried for a long time to get Cereza and the Lost Demon running at a stable 60 FPS. The most difficult part of game dev is making choices about what to prioritize. Everything has a cost, both in terms of dev time to implement it and in terms of processing time when the game is running. Ultimately, you simply cannot have everything. All these visual effects have a processing cost. I felt the picture book look to the Bayonetta game was integral to the overall experience, so it was not worth throwing it away to hit 60 FPS. I imagine the team making Paper Mario face a similar dilemma. All I can say for certain is that the team made the choice that they felt would lead to the best overall experience for players. I promise you, it's not a decision made lightly or out of laziness. I missed out on the original, so I'm looking forward to playing it on the Switch. He's got a lot more. He's got a couple more tweets that I didn't read. But basically, he's saying that the way that the game is running, the way that the game is being presented, the techniques being used to make the paper aesthetics shine, to make the ink kind of blend into the world. Apparently it's that was prioritized over 60 frames per second. The whole thing with the 60 frames per second, 30 frames per second thing, I think it's a bummer from the get-go. But I will say, I don't think it's something that I'm really going to care about at the end of the day, just because it's Paper Mario. And I feel like the game looks really beautiful from what I've seen. And it's I don't think it'll really hinder your experience. 30 frames per second in an RPG like this, I don't think is crazy. I don't think is unacceptable. I think it's going to be fine. People that have previewed the game, I think, have been fine with it, I would rather get something made with care and passion and love and all that at the sacrifice of 60 FPS. I really would. 60 FPS is nice at times, but if you don't need it, then you don't need it. As long as the game looks good, plays good, feels good, I don't care. So I kind of get what this guy's saying. It wasn't a decision made lightly, but at the end of it, they chose to prioritize what they thought was the best experience for the consumer. So to me, this isn't a bad idea. This isn't bad news. It's bad news initially when you see that it's 30 FPS, but once you read deeper into it, the things that they're really doing here sounds exciting. It actually sounds like it's going to be a really cool upgrade from the original game, 60 FPS not included, So I'm fine with this. I'm still going to get it. I'm still going to play it again. I played it through for the first time 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and I loved it. Probably the best Paper Mario game. I grew up with the original, and I don't know if I'd put it over the original, but it's at least on par with it. So I'm excited for Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, regardless of how many frames per second it is.